Checking. Good morning. Good morning to all of you joining us here in the chapel and also on YouTube. We're especially glad to have those of you who may be with us for the first time and hope to see you again soon. I'd like to remind you to please silence your cell phones or any other noisy devices at this time. My name is Eric Tschuy, and I'm your worship leader for today. Love is the center and foundation. Let fall away all that might distract us from the wholehearted practice of love. Welcome all to Eastrose. Eastrose Fellowship sits on the occupied territory of the Clackamas Chinook people who were forcibly displaced from this land to the Grand Ronde Reservation in 1855. We acknowledge the sacrifices endured by the ancestors of this land, and that our presence here today is only possible because of the injustices committed against them. We recognize the inherent sovereignty of the Chinook Nation and Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde, who carry on the traditions, history, and legacy held by their ancestors from time immemorial to this day. We seek meaningful relationships with these communities in order to foster repair. Let's take a moment now and greet each other here today, both in the chapel and online. So let's please stand first and face the cameras that are next to the clock on the back wall and wave hello to our friends online. And then you can turn to your neighbor and say hello. I love the vivacious spirit that's reigning here. We're going to be able to continue this good vibe after the service. There'll be coffee back in the Thatcher room, and you'll get a lot of chances to get to know each other better. Announcement for our online guests. If you would like to share a joy or sorrow during that portion of the service coming up, you can do so by entering it in the YouTube chat, and those will be shared aloud with everyone. I also encourage you to identify yourself in the chat so we may better acknowledge your presence with us today. The call to worship today is from the Fire of the Spirit, which is in your gray hymnal, although I'm just going to be doing the reading, 493 in the hymnal if you want to read along. It's adapted from Hildegard of Bingen, a German medieval saint. Well, I don't know if she's a saint, but she's a mystic. Fire of the Spirit, life in the lives of creatures, spiral of sanctity, bond of all natures, glow of charity, lights of charity, taste of sweetness to the fallen, be with us and hear us. Composer of all things, joy in the glory, strong honor, be with us and hear us. Thank you, Barbara. And now the chalice, which is already lit. We have our words, "We kindle our chalice flame this morning, awakening the fire of our ancestors in our hearts. Beacon of freedom held out to light the way, light of reason illuminating the path, spark of courage igniting our spirits, aglow with hope for all we endeavor to do together." And now, John will say a few words.
The opening words are short and simple. Be careful how quickly you give away your fire. It's from Robert Bly, poet and activist. And we'll do the opening hymn now, Blue Boat Home, in a teal hymn book, 1064.
The words will be up there in a minute.
Yeah, the words are up here.
If you are able, yes. I've been sailing on
Great job, guys. Now we have Tara Toler coming up with the children doing Time for All Ages.
How about now? Oh, there it is. That'll wake you up. All right, today's story is a little different from our usual storybooks. In honor of Earth Day, which we just celebrated a few days ago, we'll be reading Thank You, Earth, A Love Letter to Our Planet by April Pulley Sayer. This book is exactly what its title suggests, a love letter expressing deep gratitude to our planet for its countless gifts and for all the beings with whom we share them, plants, animals, insects, bodies of water, and even stones. It reads almost like a prayer, full of wonder and appreciation. This letter is accompanied by the author's own nature photography, so I invite you to pay special attention to our screen today to see the beautiful pictures. The author herself writes, "The earth itself does not have an address to receive thank you notes. But writing thank you notes, even to clouds or rivers or continents, can still help the planet. By sharing thank you words and art, we can remind one another about what nature does for us. This will encourage all of us to remember Earth in our actions, to protect the planet, and to spread the message of caring and conservation. So in that spirit, I present to you Thank You, Earth. Dear Earth, thank you for water and those that float, for slippery seaweed and stone. Thank you for mountains and minerals that strengthen bills and bone. Thank you for air, even fishy whale breath. Thank you for colors and coastlines and beach. Thank you for tiny and towering, for trees and vines that reach. Thank you for curves and prickles and parallels, for patterns, all shapes that repeat. Thank you for leaves and stems and buds, for plant parts we can eat. Thank you for sounds and storms and seasons, for struggles and pale in-betweens. Thank you for rays and radials and overlapping greens. Thank you for jumbles, ingredients for soil, and bright new growth in spring. Thank you for those that crawl. Yes, all, even for those that sting. Thank you for sunsets, for sky room for birds, for edges eyes can roam. Thank you for beginnings, for endings, for lifetimes. Thank you for being our home. And now as the children prepare to head back to our classroom, may we carry with us this spirit of wonder and appreciation, along with the commitment to be good stewards of our earth and its gifts. So if the children will stand here with me for just a second, we'll have the adults along the center aisle form a bridge, and we'll sing the children out. Thank you.
Hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go, to nurture the spark of your precious life. We hold you in our love as you go.
We'll now do our meditation. I'm going to ask everybody to sit comfortably, straight up, feet on the ground, and arms any way you like, but loosely. Close your eyes or keep them open. And we'll start with relaxing every part of your body. Relax your shoulders, your arms, your hands and fingers. Relax your chest and stomach area, legs, feet, your spine, your back, up and down. And be here in this moment. We'll start to breathe meditatively. Let's take 4 breaths in. 5 or 6 breaths counts out for each breath. 4 counts in. 5 or 6 out. Slowly coming back. I will lightly tap the gong and you may open your eyes. The reading comes from the great hymnal. Goes, "Let us open our minds and hearts to the place of quiet, to the silent prayer for the healing of pain and a soft, gentle coming of love." Please remain seated and we'll sing together our old traditional hymn 123 in the great hymnal, Spirit of Life. And the words will be on the screen. Sometimes I think it would be just appropriate to say moving the hands, giving life the shape of justice, because it really is up to all of us. Remember, a responsive reading now. It's 518 in the gray hymnal, but there will be the words up here. I will be doing the call in yellow and the response, which is you guys, in white. It's a prayer from the Ojibwe nations of North America. Grandfather, look at our brokenness.
We know that in all creation, only the human family has strayed from the sacred way.
We know that we are the ones who are divided.
And we are the ones who must come back together to walk the sacred way.
Grandfather, Sacred One, teach us love, compassion, and honor.
That we may heal the earth and heal each other.
Our speaker today is Jon Biemer, who's visiting us from Wy'east. Jon is the author of a book called Our Journey to Sustainability, How Everyday Heroes Make a Difference. He worked for Bonneville Power Administration for 23 years. Jon is registered as a professional mechanical engineer in the state of California and is a member of the Society of Environmental Journalists. Jon is also a founding member of the Wy'east Unitarian Universalist congregation here in Portland, so our neighbor. His previous book is Our Environmental Handprints, Recover the Land, Reverse Global Warming, and Reclaim the Future. And so I will introduce our speaker again, Jon Biemer, who's talking today to us about the 3 C's of sustainability. And I guess you'll tell us more about the books too.
Thank you for having me here. I'm going to tell you what the 3 C's are right off the top, so you'll be hearing those once in a while through the talk. Caring, catalyst, and collaboration. How did I come to that? I started the book, Our Journey to Sustainability, by another name, with the question, what motivates people to act on behalf of the earth? I'd written a previous book about all the things you can do, but a lot of people aren't doing them. What actually motivates them? After I turned my manuscript in, I kind of realized, it took me about a month or so to realize that those 3 C's kind of answer that question. They need to care, something needs to kick them into action, and they need support, collaboration. I'll give a couple stories to kind of make that real. Jenny Holmes, anybody know Jenny Holmes? Yeah, okay, I see. She grew up in Portland, near Forest Park, and spent time in Forest Park, out there in the woods. And she also went camping with her family and all that. Very simple, common story, if you will. But that love of the woods and all that love of nature translated down the road a long ways, through a lot of things, into her becoming the director of the Oregon Interfaith Power and Light Program for the Ecumenical Ministries of Oregon. And that went around the country. They had congregations doing assessments of how they could be more sustainable, and they showed the movie An Inconvenient Truth, I think 200 times. That's just a sample of where that love of sustainability can go, love of nature. Similarly, Harry Luton grew up in Michigan, and his parents had 100 acres. And you know, they didn't do much of anything with that 100 acres, except put salt licks out and build birdhouses. Now, they weren't flaming environmentalists. That's just what they did. They made the land available for animals, took care of the animals as best they could. Fast forward down the road, he lives in Louisiana, Covington, Louisiana. Hurricane Katrina essentially mowed down his house and threw all the bricks in his house out into the nice, expansive yard that he had with big trees. He lost a lot of trees. But he remembered his experience with his parents and decided to make that lawn, that place, into a place that's welcoming for plants and animals. His mantra, if you will, was, I want to make this a place where a snake can crawl across my land and not get bothered. So, caring is important. Catalyst is important too. So one of my stories there is about Pat Ordinger. So she had a full-time teaching job, high school, and she graduated, that's my word. She retired. And she anticipated spending more time with her grandkids, except her grandkids were busy in school, had all sorts of activities, and she was kind of disappointed. But instead of groveling in that disappointment, shall we say, she took a course of one of these intensive things with the Pachamama Alliance on how to be basically an activist. And she formed a group in her town, Henrietta, New York, called Color Henrietta Green. They took that name from another town called Pittsfield Green, so it's an idea that you kind of take on and make it your own. And gradually they got in touch with the city manager, and it became somewhat of a committee of the city of Henrietta. And through that process, they adopted residential building codes for more efficient houses. They made sure that the library, when it was remodeled, had a heat pump rather than conventional heating. And they passed some ordinances that allowed vacant land to become a solar farm, basically a community solar project. So, the catalyst kind of kicked her into action, and then, look where she went. Another person that had a different kind of catalyst was Carlos Araki. He was a executive with Schlumberger, a very large oil drilling company. And he got to mid-career, and he realized he didn't want to spend the rest of his life working in oil. That's not the future as far as he was concerned. He basically went back to school, met a professor who had some new technology on drilling, and this technology is using microwave technology, essentially, can drill down deep enough, theoretically, to get geothermal energy most anywhere. You can find geothermal energy 2 to 12 miles deep most anywhere in this world. And where can that be applied? How about converting coal plants into geothermal plants? You've got all the infrastructure. All you need is a renewable resource that pollutes less. Now, he's gone through the process of finding investors and forming a company, and they're doing demonstration projects now. So midlife crisis ends up being something that you can take those skills and apply them to something really worthwhile. Now, collaboration, it wasn't apparent to me at first that collaboration is necessary because you're looking at the hero. You're looking at the person that does great things, Carlos. But that professor needed to collaborate with Carlos before either of them could make this dream worthwhile. Pat needed to collaborate with that city manager before they could kind of get to the larger scale of things. Well, how many of you know Greta Thunberg? You know, that the young lady that I think she was in 9th grade when she sat on the steps of the Swedish Parliament and basically held a sign saying, you're not doing enough to stop global warming. And she went on to talk to the United Nations. So we can talk about all sorts of people, like the kids that sat next to her and that sort of thing. But a very, very important collaborator was her mother. How? Before she sat on the steps of the Parliament, she got this thing about, flying's not a good thing. You put carbon up into the air. And her mother was an international opera singer. And her mother gave up flying to honor her child's values. That's collaboration. And that kind of empowerment of that child has gone on to great things for Greta, as some of us know about. Another couple people that were had a fair amount of collaboration were Rosa and Eleanor Clemens Cope, teenagers, Montgomery County, Maryland. They heard that the school board was going to buy a bunch of diesel buses. No. We got to buy electric buses. And they got out and made a ruckus and marched on the streets, and I think they were sitting in front of an administrator's home. They kind of making a lot of noise. But the school board basically said, electric buses are too expensive. We can't go there. But a company by the name of Highland Electric Transportation up in Massachusetts, a couple states away, heard about this, and they made a deal with the school board. Highland Electric will buy the buses, the electric buses. School board will pay the same amount as if they were buying diesel buses. And Highland Electric will use the batteries in the buses when the buses aren't being used to move kids to be as peak storage for the power grid. And that avoids building power plants. That's worth some money, right? So we end up with a company making a bunch of money, electric school buses, and all that is started with a couple young teenagers saying, no, we got to do the right thing here. So look at all the collaboration that was necessary for that one. The school board had to go along eventually, but Highland Electric had to pick up the ball and say, we got something real to make this happen. And on a more prosaic level, every time you buy a loaf of organic bread, you are collaborating with the farmers and the storekeepers. Without any of the three of you, that doesn't work. So I'd like to take a break now, and we'll talk more about what we're doing here. So one thing I like to do to bring a little relevance to my remarks is kind of paint a portrait of the community where I'm speaking, a sustainability portrait. And so I'm going to do that for East Multnomah County. So that you may recognize many of these things, but look at them as one thing. We have the Max line, right? Started in the early 80s, and it connects Hillsborough to Gresham, 33 miles. It's TriMet is known as one of the best transportation systems in the country. We have the Columbia Gorge Scenic area. Okay, that's 85 miles long, and we're kind of at the gateway to that gorge. We can take some credit for that. But the thing that we might want to really take some credit for is that this is a collaboration between, let's see, conservationists, naturalists. We have 13 urban areas. We have 6 counties. We have 2 states. And we have some transportation, and we have some power generation, Bonneville Dam. All of those interests had to be taken into account and continuously have to be taken into account to make that work. And we are making that work. And that was, by the way, passed under a Republican administration, Ronald Reagan. We have the Springwater Corridor. Okay, that's 21 miles from here, basically, to the Willamette River. And Metro and Portland purchased most of that in 1990. And how many people have been walking on that? I mean, you're like, yeah. Great place to meet nature and have your kids meet nature. Then we have Headwaters Farm. Headwater Farm. I didn't know about that until about, I don't know, 5 years ago. This is the East Multnomah County Soil and Water Conservation District. Some of your taxes go to that. This farm is basically an incubator for organic farming. I don't know of anywhere else in the country where that's happening. Right here in our backyard. Pick and pull, that's a salvage yard, right? You can take, well, I'll give you an example. Our van, we have a 2004 Toyota Sienna van. And I have replaced the mirror from Pick and Pull. I have replaced a back window from Pick and Pull and a back, we have a backup light, the light that goes from Pick and Pull. Those are things that would have had to come from some sort of mountain type resource. Okay, and if you go down there, you'll find that there's a bunch of people doing that kind of thing. It's a kind of a community. Matter of fact, that window, I got a heap of help from another guy that was working down there on his project. So what a wonderful resource in the area. The library, well, libraries by definition are reduce, reuse. And in the case of online books, you don't even need some of these resources that we used to need for books. They don't take enough credit, in my mind, for being sustainable paragons of the community. Paragons of sustainability. Now, the city of Gresham just adopted a climate action plan in 2024. How many people are aware of that? Yeah, okay. I wasn't until I preparing for this talk. It's very extensive. I can't go into the whole works right now. But they've got a biking map of the city. They just put a solar system on a public safety building, and it's got a 3-year payback. In other words, after 3 years, it's going to be giving the city money, paying down their utility bills, and that's including the rebates and stuff like that were available. And they have a commitment to provide visibility and access to repair and reuse services, which brings me to the Gresham Repair Cafe. Okay. So let's see. I had a robe that had a hole in it. I went there. They darned it and covered with some cloth, and I got another 5 years of use out of it. I think my wife wants me to replace it eventually, anyhow. And I had my grandson's scooter was stuck in a way that I couldn't get it apart. They had a couple bike mechanics that took care of that in 5 minutes. You know, this is a resource where people that have these skills can connect with people that actually have needs. And one more. Oh, yes, Eastrose Fellowship Unitarian Universalist. So we just went to the plant swap yesterday, right? And I've never been to it before. I wasn't expecting much. You know, what do? You have your plant and you try to pull it out. No, people plan ahead for this. They plant stuff in order to bring it to the plant swap. And it's like 7 years or something like that. I asked somebody in the making. This is a community resource now that has matured into something that's really, you know, kind of significant. And we stocked up a little bit ourselves. I'm going to have some work to do over the next week planning what my wife picked out. So let's take another break. So for the third part, what I'd like to do is tie these things together a bit. And the thing that I want you to think about, those 3 C's of sustainability. What are they now? Caring, catalyst, and collaboration. It's hard to do that for ourselves. It's a lot easier to do it for each other. When we can help people care, we can help people find that spark, and we can help them follow through on what they're intending to do. So I'm going to give you a couple examples here. In the caring realm, we can help others, people. We can take kids on the Springwater Corridor. We can take kids to the National Park. We can take kids to the Columbia Gorge. That's planting the seeds for where they're going in their lives. They're not all going to be environmentalists, but at least they might have voting records that are a little bit defensible, you know, in the realm of taking care of the earth. We can read books to the kids that talk about other people that are doing great things, especially other kids. Even the titles, I've got a few titles here. The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind, you know? Okay, there's kids that do this. Butterflies Belong Here, story of one idea, 30 kids, and a world of butterflies. Okay. So I haven't run into too many times when the kids said, no, I don't want to hear about that book, because they really like the time spent with you reading a book. Why not make it a book that helps them appreciate the environment? And I guess another way of helping people care is speaking in terms of relationship with nature. It's a common in the indigenous community to connect with the mountain, connect with the trees, and so forth. I just learned that, I went down to Hawaii. I talked about that a little bit. I had in mind to climb Mauna Loa. But after a little while spending time with Mauna Loa rather than climbing Mauna Loa, I felt like I had a connection with that mountain. That's the kind of thing that we might want to think about. Go hike with the gorge, not to the gorge. Just little things like that that change the way we look at how we relate to things. And, the things on your plate, don't be afraid to thank the fruits and the vegetables and the fish for sacrificing themselves so you can live and do what it is that you need to do. Now, catalysts. Invite a friend to one of those, repair cafes. It's a little unfamiliar. People have a hard time, especially me. My wife can testify. Anything unfamiliar, it's a slow go to get me to do something. Offer church services that relate to environmental justice. Write, earth-friendly letters to your editor. Whatever topic seems to be the right topic of the day. Write poetry, books, I've spent a little time writing these books. Those are all meant to be catalysts. And you can give one of those books to a friend. The book that I just read just recently, What If We Get It Right? By Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson. She interviewed 20 people that are doing some really great stuff. So there are things we can do there. Oh, now, life transitions. Weddings, graduations, funerals. I don't want to see any more paper plates. We really, really ought to, if you can't afford to rent this stuff, you can find time to find somebody to wash the plate. It's not that hard, and these are one-time occasions. And the gifts you give, you have to be careful because you don't want to give a gift to somebody that they don't want. But you can find coupons to help them out, like for babysitting, or maybe a donation to a cause that's a cause that they care about. Maybe a sentimental keepsake that they could value rather than buying something new. There's creative ways of making those occasions earth-friendly. Now, collaboration, the possibilities are endless. So we collaborate with each other when we vote for library bond issues. Okay, that's a collaborative process. If enough people do it, it happens. We collaborate with farmers at the farmers markets. Somebody mentioned that this morning, right? And the Gresham Farmers Market starts next Saturday. It starts in May. And we also have the Rockwood Community Market Thursday, starting in June. So you have community things where you can engage the people that are actually part of the sustainability of the community. You can try your hand at pick and pull kinds of things if you're not too intimidated with it, with the process. You can buy regenerative, organic, certified products. There are not that many of them out there. Look for them, and because that's where things have been done that need to be done that I'm talking about. And let's see, I'm going to skip down here to join Third Act. That's elders taking part in group actions to convince companies to be more sustainable, started by Bill McKibben. And you could come together as a congregation with fellow congregants and become a green sanctuary. The UU program, UUA, has consolidated. But that program's been going since 1989, and it's a pretty good program. So it's time for me to close. And what I would say is I'm going to give a name to this sustainable portrait that I've painted here. And I'm going to call it Gateway to Sustainability. So now you might find a better name, but in the meantime, let's say that 3 times. Gateway to Sustainability. Gateway to Sustainability. Gateway to Sustainability. Thank you. Oh, let's see. We have a closing hymn, right?
Yes.
And it is Wake Now My Senses, 298.
So please rise as you are willing and able.
Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in awe. Deep with the web of creation, your vow. Giving, receiving, as love shows us how. Wake now my reason, reach out to the new. Join with each pilgrim who quests for the true. Honor the beauty and wisdom of time. Suffer thy limit and praise the sublime. Wake now, compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the wide sky. Take as your neighbor, both stranger and friend. Waiting and striving their hardships to end.
Oh, we're gonna keep going?
My conscience with justice my guide. Join with all people whose rights are denied. Take not for granted a privileged place. God's love embraces the whole human race. Make now my vision of ministry clear. Brighten my pathway with radiance here. Mingle thy calling with all who will share. Work toward a planet transformed by our care.
Each week we take an offering to support this church and to share with a community nonprofit. Through August, half our offering will go to NAYA, Native American Youth and Family Center, which serves Native Americans from across the Portland metropolitan area. Their aim is to enhance the diverse strengths of youths and families in partnerships with the community through cultural identity and education. They promote healthy living through positive alternatives to high-risk behaviors and promote the values of sobriety, family stability, culture, active lifestyles, and education. Our Congress is involved in several projects with NIA, and we encourage you to check pedals or contact Karen Pyle for ways to join in this partnership. If you are attending online, you may donate by visiting our website and clicking the donate button, or you may scan the QR code on the screen. If you are here for the first time, we invite you to let the basket pass and truly be our guest. The gifts of the congregation will now be most gratefully received. Please remain seated and sing our song of gratitude. We give thanks. It's in our Teal hymnal as well, and there are the words. Anyway, be kind, be brave, be just, be merciful. Keep the chalice flame burning until we meet again. I asked John to skip closing words because it is getting late, but he had a paragraph in the book, Our Journey to Sustainability. He does have his 2 books out there for you to look at and possibly buy one if you are interested. Now we're going to have the postlude by Barbara.
Question and answer.
Thank you, Barbara. Reverend Barbara Stevens. I could just visualize Sashmo singing. I have one announcement here, and this one is from Linda Shalduck, if you don't mind raising your hand. And she's inviting us to sign up beginning today for the next Friendship Dinner, which will be Saturday, May 24th. So we're planning ahead here. And give your completed sheet to Linda Shalduck. Linda, are the sheets out there? Oh, she has them. Okay, great. There is a potluck supper, dinners of about 8 to 10 people, and they're a great way to become better acquainted with one another. It really is a lot of fun. And also fantastic conversation. I mean, we're great at that, right? So anyway, Linda can answer questions. The service is over. It'll be time for social time, coffee, and conversation back there in the Thatcher room, which I think the Nessies prepared coffee. And when you have your cup of coffee, you can come back here, and Jon will be here to talk about his ideas and his books and any questions you have. So he'd be happy to be here. But now you got to go get your coffee.